Hey guys, how you doing? Jeff here, and I am back. Had a 2-week vacation, went to go see some family, spent some time with the wife and the little man, but I'm back at work, so I'm back on the road. And, well, when I'm on the road, I got time, because I'm just staring at a windshield, holding onto the steering wheel, and it's like having a phone call with you all. If you don't like the low speed, high drag way, well, tough shit, my channel, I do what I want. But, anyways, a lot of stuff has gone on from Marisha Lucas, George Lucas's first wife who edited Star Wars, slamming Lucasfilm under Kathleen Kennedy. And look, I could do a big talk on that, but a lot of people have covered it, and I'm not going to retread that old ground. To, abortion in Texas, gun laws in Texas, California, Newsom, so much has gone on, and there's only so much time under the sun, but I'm not going to dive into all that because many other people have talked about this. What I really want to dive into is two topics that kind of align and kind of talk to each other. And what are those topics? Well, one has to do with Jack Posobiec and Tim Pool, and to a lesser extent, Eric July, having a discussion about forcing kids to take the COVID vaccination to have to play their sport, and consequences and repercussions of forcing kids to have to do that, or forcing kids to not take the COVID jab and then lose out on the sport that they love to play and all that, and the ramifications. But on top of that, there's something that Lore Reloaded James did, and he and I haven't seen eye to eye on a lot of stuff. In fact, I think the phrase, "well, I was born this way," to me grates my gears, because it takes away from human choice and free will a lot. Granted, there are certain things that are beyond my control, but choosing who I want to go to bed with and all that is completely within my control. And my preferences, well, I believe they are mine, not predetermined by birth, but that's a larger discussion for another day. That if James wants to have that discussion, hey, and I hope he sees this video, hey, I'm more than willing to have that discussion, my man. I know Triangulum Studios blocked me over it, but hey, is what is. But he brought up about disabled officers in Starfleet and further ramifications of being able to cure those things, and I think that's also a big topic to cover. So those are the two main ones. First, I'm going to start out with Jack Posobiec and Tim Pool and Eric July, because let me set the scene. Jack Posobiec went on Tim Pool's show a couple weeks ago, and he had a debate with Tim. And Tim basically said that Jack should pull his kids out and should not submit to the governmental will of the mandates, irregardless of what his kids want. He should just pretty much unilaterally and authoritarianly yank his kids out of the sport rather than force them to get the COVID vaccination. Wow, that's just a lot to unpack. And then, of course, Eric July is basically standing with Tim, but was asking Jack Posobiec his opinion on it. And I know Eric July could give a fart in a windstorm about my opinion, but my opinion was this. The kids are teenagers. They're at a certain point in their lives where they shouldn't be given unilateral choice in what to do with their lives, but they should be given some leeway at some point. You have to start easing kids in at teenage level. You're going to have to start making choices for yourself, and those choices are going to have consequences. My point was, hey, how about we give the kids all the data on pros and cons of the vaccination and let them decide if it's worth it for what they want to do? Because quite frankly, if Jack did make the authoritarian unilateral decision and pulled those kids out of sports, and they could suffer great bouts of depression. They could suffer a lot of psychological trauma due to Jack's unilateral decision, and it makes some effect of his life, but bigger effect is that felt by his kids. And Jack basically said, the government found the one thing, my kid's happiness, that I can't override. And Tim Pool says, no, you should just fucking do it. Pull the kids out. And I'm like, whoa, Tim. For as much as you preach about free choice, will, and equality, you're quick to pull the authoritarian lever when it comes to your own personal ideals, and not everybody shares them. And the whole thing of, well, you're not a parent, so you don't understand. Oh, yeah, I agree with that statement. You're not a fucking parent. But if it was little kids and they don't have the chance to understand, which is another point I'll bring up to James in a minute, versus these kids have played, they love this sport, maybe they have a chance to make something out of this sport, and you're going to rip it away because of ideological, let you believe, that's a hell of a thing to force on your teenage child. And as I stated, this is just my opinion, my 2 cents, take it for what you will. This could lead to depression, if not suicide. You're taking away what kids love to do and not giving them any recompense in return. It's a hard thing to do to a teenager. You can irreparably damage their psyche. I'm sorry, I kind of leave with Jack on this, but with Jack, I would say, hey, take your kids' feelings into account before you set your sheets to the wind. That would be my 2 cents on that matter. Because I think the kids at that point have some say in what happens to them, especially if it's something they love to do. Would I force my kid to do it? No. But I would, as I say, I only have an 18-month-old, a 1.5-year-old little boy. So I don't have to face this problem right now. But I can seriously empathize if my son Ethan seriously wanted to play baseball and he was like, hey, I'll take the jab, I want to play. How do I say no to that? It's what he wants. I mean, you might call me a weak parent, especially if he was a teenager, but I would want to take his feelings into account. It's his life. And at a certain point, when he becomes 18, I can't just tell him just one day, hey, you're making all your decisions now. I'm not doing it anymore. Here's your crash. I'm not even giving you a crash course. Good luck. Which is what a lot of parents actually do instead of easing their kids into making their own decisions, which thank God for my mother, because she told me by the time I was 17, 18, I was generally making my own choices. She was just there to make sure I had clothes on my back, food on my belly, and a room to sleep in. Other than that, it was pretty much my life at that point. And by the time they're 17, 18, it's kind of what you have to do. I mean, did I have left and right lateral limits? Absolutely I did. I still had certain things she expected of me, but by and large, most of my personal day-to-day choices, as long as it was in those left and right lateral limits, I was allowed to make them. Like, one day, I didn't go to fucking school. I was 18. When you're 18, they have this rule of you call in for yourself and be like, yeah, I don't feel good. I'm not coming in today. I decided I had a massive fucking headache. I didn't want to go to school. I felt like crap, so I called in. Mother found me at home, and she's like, why are you here? It's like, I had a really bad headache, and I took some Excedrin and Tylenol, and I kind of slept it off. I feel better now, but at 8 a.m., I was a walking wreck. And she was like, okay, you made your choice. You got your assignments though, right? And I'm like, yeah, I called in and asked for my assignments. And she's like, okay, fine, off you go. So, yeah. But I also find it really interesting that also Eric July would instantly rush on Tim Pool's side. Look, I know you all don't like the fucking vaccine. I don't like it. But at a certain point, you can't really turn. There's a time to be authoritarian as a parent, and there's a time to let off some. And what Tim Pool and what, to an extent, Eric July was calling for was authoritarianism on behalf of those kids. And saying, as a parent, you should do this. Not everything is as black and white as that. Sometimes there is some fucking nuance to being a parent. Now, when they're being young and acting a fool, yeah, that's the time to bring the foot down and be like, I'm the parent, you are the child, do as I say. Even as a libertarian, I understand there is a time and a place to be authoritarian. But sometimes you don't have to reach for a sledgehammer to nail down a nail. And that's where I'm going to leave that. But now I'm going to go over to James and his disabilities in Star Trek and getting them cured. Like, he talked about his daughter. If he could fix her dyslexia tomorrow, he would do it, even though it would change her life. And the thing is, I understand why. James, personally, I don't know if you know this, but I made no bones about it. I'm a disabled veteran because of my knee. Am I like completely disabled? No. But I've gone from, in my 20s, being a very active, very athletic person to running more than 100 feet, I'm practically crying. Standing longer than 20 minutes, I want to rip my hair out because I'm in so much pain. And it's chronic knee pain. It's pretty much like arthritis on steroids. I mean, to function in a stick shift truck like I'm doing right now, I have to wear a knee brace. Even with the hydraulic clutch, which is one of the easiest clutches to put down to the floor, it's still difficult for me. And I know for certain people, you're going like, wow, that's difficult for you? It's like, yeah, beginning of the day, not so much. At the end of the day, yeah, it becomes a chore to put that clutch to the floor. And a painful one at that. And if there was a medical technology or procedure that could fix that tomorrow, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I would quickly lose a lot of this dad bod. Because I miss playing football, basketball, baseball. I miss doing those athletic things. Not that I liked running 3 miles, I liked the capacity of being able to do it without being in fucking pain. You know, I still remember a life, and someone, I can't remember this person on Twitter, but she's like, disability I have, it's made me who I am. I wouldn't want to change it. And I told her about me, and she's like, oh, that's a lost capacity. I could wholeheartedly understand why you'd want to get that back, because you remember a time when you could do those things, and then you lost it. So yeah, she could totally, wholeheartedly understand why I'd want that capacity back. But as far as the video lore, I thought it was an outstanding video. And I thought it was an interesting video, and I think it's funny how hard you come down on the golden age of Star Trek, next generation. Pretty much the lost generation from the end of generations all the way up to pretty much the Dominion War, the golden age, and how hard you come down against it. And it's like, wow, you proved that it wasn't such a shiny fleet and there were a lot of flaws underneath it. But anyways, I've rambled on for 12 minutes. I kind of covered James's part a little bit lighter because that was a little more cut and dry, where Jack's problem is a lot more nuanced. And as parents, there's that fine line between letting your kids run wild and letting them start to have some reign in their life, especially when they start getting under teenage years. And I'm dreading it. Granted, I got about 12, 13 years before I hit there, but I'm still dreading it even now because my son's a wild child already. I love him. Best part of my life, but boy, I'm going to have a hard time with him. But anyways, I'm Jeff. Let me know what you think below about those. And what would you do with your kids? Force them to not take the jab and pull them out of the sport they love, or allow them to make a decision on their own? Because it's not black and white, it's not cut and dry, every parent's different. And as far as Disabled and Starfleet, lore, absolutely outstanding video. I love your stuff, and I'll catch you next time.